Oh, good afternoon, fourth grade. I'm here to read you another wonderful chapter of Chasing Vermeer. Chapter 5. Sorry that I wasn't here today. I had to sit in a boring meeting all day, but at least you get to hear. Chapter 5. Worms, Snakes, and Periwinkles. That night, flipping around in Low, Petra was more and more amazed. She had never seen a book like this. It was, first of all, peppered with quotes from journals and newspapers from around the world. There was the London Times, the Quebec Daily Mercury, the New Zealand Times, the Woodbury Daily Times, the New York American, the Gentleman's Magazine, the Ceylon Observer. The list went on and on. There were hundreds of stories of bizarre happenings, many of them similar. Venomous snakes dropped into backyards in Oxford, England. Red and brown worms fell with snowflakes in Sweden. Bushels of periwinkles fell from the sky on the Gromer Gardens Road outside of Worcestershire, England. Luminous floating lights traveled slowly over open land in North Carolina and in Norfolk, England. Wild animals turned up where they shouldn't have been. People disappeared and then were found far away, disoriented and confused. There were crashes and explosions, and no one could explain. Fort had apparently spent 27 years going through old newspapers and libraries. He had copied out thousands of articles about unexplained goings-on, like, "It is the profound conviction of most of us that there never has been a shower of living things, but some of us have been educated by surprises out of much that we were absolutely sure of." Petra read this page twice and turned a few pages. "I have never heard of any standard in any religion, philosophy, science, or complication of household affairs that could not be made to fit any requirement. We fit standards to judgments or break any law that it pleases us to break. We have conclusions which are the product of senility or incompetence or credulity, and then argue from them to premises. We forget the process, and then we argue from the premises as thinking we began there." Petra struggled with this language and had to look up the words credulity and premises. Rereading each sentence in pieces, she began to get a grip on what Fort was saying. Depending on how you looked at things, your world could change completely. His thought was that most people bent over backwards to fit everything that happened to them into something that they could understand. In other words, people sometimes twisted what was actually in front of them to fit what they thought should be there, never realizing they were doing it. People like to see what they were supposed to see and to find what they were supposed to find. It was quite an idea. And then, see London newspapers, August 18th and 19th, 1921, innumerable little frogs that appeared during a thunderstorm upon the 17th in the streets of northern part of London. Further down, there have been repetitions of these arrivals. There's an account in the London Daily News, September 5, 1922, of little toads, which for 2 days have been dropping from the sky at Charlons, France. Could this be true? Why wasn't more time in school spent studying things that were unknown or not understood instead of things that would have already been discovered and explained? Miss Hussey was always asked for their ideas. Wouldn't it be great to go digging for weird facts like Charles Fort did, to try and piece together meaning behind the events that didn't seem to fit? And why wasn't this book a piece of art? She grabbed her notebook and began to write. "This object is hard on the outside and bendable on the inside. It is the color of an unripe raspberry. It weighs about as much as a pair of blue jeans. It smells like a closet in an old house, and it is an ancient shape. It holds things that are hard to believe. There are living creatures falling like rain, and objects that float by themselves. People vanish and reappear. It is made from substances that once grew, that once bent in the wind and felt the night air. It is older than the trips to the moon or computers or stereo systems or television. Our grandparents might have seen it when they were young. There was a woman's name in faded brown ink on the inside cover. Petra wondered who else had loved this book and why it had ended up outside of Powell's. Why had it been thrown away? She would never lose it. Not ever. Before closing the book, she looked again for that one terrific sentence. We shall pick up an existence by its frogs. What? Hours later, under a sliver of moon, Petra was almost asleep. As she rolled over, squashing her pillow into position on top of her arm, a strange thing happened. Although her eyes were closed, she seemed to be looking at a young woman. The person was old-fashioned. She was dressed in a yellow jacket that had dappled fur on the edges, and her hair was pulled back tightly with shiny ribbons. Dangling earrings, perhaps pearls, caught the light. She had been sitting at a table and writing. Something had interrupted her. The quill pen in hand, she paused to look up. The woman was gazing directly into Petra's eyes. Her expression was knowing, filled with kindness and interest. She had the look of someone who understood without being told. Petra found herself soaking up every detail of the image. Although the room was dark, light touched the metal fastenings on the wooden box. A fold of blue cloth on the table, the curve of the woman's forehead, the creamy linen of her jacket. This was a calm, deliberate world, a world where dreams were real, and each syllable held the light like a pearl. It was a writer's world, and Petra was inside it. Then suddenly, as she appeared, the woman began to fade from Petra's mind. And as this happened, Petra felt recognized, as if this person knew who she was. Petra Andali was. It was a shocking feeling, exhilarating, shivering, and true, and somehow inevitable, as if things had always been this way. Wide awake now, Petra thought of Charles Fort. Was he responsible for the woman's visit? Had he brought them together? Educated by surprises. Fort understood that Petra had often felt. There is much more to be uncovered about the world than most people think. If she had had any idea how much more, Petra wouldn't have slept at all that night. Now, guys, take a look at that picture. I know you're going to find some interesting things. Jesus, I'm looking at you. I know you're going to find something interesting. Brad, be thinking. Interesting. Thank you. That was chapter 5. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.